Evening, my friends. People always keep saying, let's go back to the simpler times. I don't know why I did the British accent, but when they mean simpler times, do they mean 4 billion years ago? Because by then, the Earth is just being bombarded with these giant asteroid things, these rocks. And one of these asteroids had water things, this thing called water, right? And when it finally hit this Earth thing, the water was a thing. Yeah, so water was here, and after that, there's this thing called lightning. This is definitely not trying to scale. This lightning thing, right? It sparked some energy things, electrons, and here is some atoms. A number 1, A number 2, atom number 2. So when the electric thing, right, it made these atoms share electrons. What do I mean by that? Well, this thing is an atom, right? But this is basically what it looks like. These outside things are the electrons. It has a negative charge. These inside things, this one is a proton, and this one is a neutron. This thing makes literally everything in the Earth, on Mars, in the galaxy. So then back to here. These atoms join together, right? They interlock, and then you finally got this thing called a cell. Well, before that, there are even more atoms that join together, and each one has a different property, and it creates these chains of amino acids. And when all these amino acids intertwine together, this turns into a cell. The only thing it knows to do is to make copies of itself, to keep living or something. So we get these cells. We keep getting these cells until somehow 2 of these cells merge together. They're like, and we get a larger giant cell, but these cells have different DNA, right? 2 DNA things together will have like a third DNA thing. So genes, if they get copied over correctly, then nothing really happens. If they don't get copied correctly, that's called a mutation, which could be bad, could be good. I don't know. Depends on the mutation. So later, around 600 million years ago, these cells, these things, they kind of evolve into worms because of natural selection. If they're good mutations, then the species keeps living on. If they're bad mutations, they just die. They don't exist anymore. So nature thought that this worm-like thing is better than the other ones. And then, very cool. So later, they somehow evolved these light cells, these patches of cells that think, oh shit, this thing is a dark area, this thing is a light area, so this one probably has more stuff than this dark area. So then now they figured out how to differentiate light from dark, shadows from non-shadow. And this happened about 521 million years ago. Later, these worm-like things expand like this. It turns into these fish kind of like things. And the eyes are better now. They can differentiate more light than more dark. It's more of a spectrum. It's way better. And then they also have these things called nerves, and they can react to stimuli, which is amazing. Because now if a thing eats you, then you know, shit, I think I'm gonna die. And also, this thing called a brain emerges from these nerve cells when they conjoin. Now this thing knows how to get more food, more nutrients. If this thing is a shark, right? No, it's not, but pretend it is. And this thing is a rock. Which one do you think is more harmless? The rock. Not the rock, but this rock, this specific rock. So the fish is going to avoid the shark, but not the rock. Okay? That's gonna be easier for this thing to live on further. So then 375 million years ago, they developed these scaly things, these scales, so that they don't get eaten as easily. And they, I guess, look more intimidating or something. I don't know. They got teeth. Grr, chomping on stuff. But then The shark somehow decided that this guy should go more to the shallow water, I guess. So it goes to the shallow water, and then oh no, the water here doesn't have as much oxygen, so they had to find a way to get more oxygen, and that is by developing lungs. These lungs, they weren't outside the body, they were inside the body. So then about 365 million years ago, they got lungs, and now they can breathe on both land and water. So like, yeah, two things is better than one sometimes. About 340 million years ago, it decided to go on land, and a bit after, they were like, oh, we're gonna get dried out by this giant star ball thing called the sun, right? So then they get tougher skin and just claws and better overall physique. They also got a larger jaw so they can eat more food, and a larger brain so that they can find more food. And now they lay eggs, so then they don't have to carry their youngs. Now the eggs are carrying the thing, and they can just go somewhere else while the egg hatches, and then the little baby thing kind of fends for itself. So like 220 million years ago, there's this giant volcano and lava everywhere, and then climate change. So then, yeah, climate change. So now everything is worse off. And to the people who are like, no, so climate change is just a natural process, and we are supposed to just deal with it. Those naysayers, they're lying to us. Global warming is just a natural thing. Well, actually, global warming right now, it's increasing way too much, way more than how much climate is supposed to change in normal scenarios. So then we get fur, and we got way smaller. So now we can like just hide in small spaces, so that when predators are like, yo, I want to eat you, and they're like, no, nope, and then they hide in this log thing that fallen or something, and now the predator cannot get to it. Rawr. That looks like a chicken. Why? Rawr. Yeah, now you can't get me. Oosh. About 66 million years ago, we got even smaller, so we can hide in more small spaces. We got now unused traits like goosebumps. If you've ever been like really cold or maybe nervous, then you would have goosebumps. That comes from this, where if you have goosebumps, then the hairs on you would be more up. Yeah, it would make you look bigger, but also it will help you get warmer, less cold and stuff. So that's why you have goosebumps. They also got like noses and ears, and then their brains expanded a lot in a different way than before. The brain now they could solve problems, they could think creatively. So this is a pencil. A non-divergent thinking animal or any non-divergent thinking organism would think that is a pencil, it should be used like a pencil. But humans were thinking that is both a pencil and something you could throw at someone and then they will die. And also you could use it like a mustache and way more things. That is what we call divergent thinking. And some people describe it as the brains get wrinkles, and I have no idea how you could prove if that's true or not. So let's just say it does. Natural selection also favored giving birth instead of eggs. So eggs are worse than giving birth because, I don't know, just it works. If it works, it works, okay? And also, did you know that milk is just modified sweat, and milk glands are just modified sweat glands? Think about that for a second. Somehow, sweat, this byproduct that cools you down, somehow has a lot of nutrients that babies could consume, and they would develop, like, grow up. And now, 65 million years ago, way too many asteroids, again, more asteroids. It hits the Earth, like, again, and once again, climate change. People are saying the asteroids didn't kill the dinosaurs. Well, you're kind of true. The asteroid killed a lot of things in where it landed, but later it caused climate change, which killed a lot of other things. Like if you had a polar bear made for the Arctic, the cold, right? And then you put it in a sauna, it will die, okay? Because the polar bear was evolved for the Arctic, for the cold. and if you put it in the sauna, it's gonna overheat or some shit. So then all the dinosaurs died, and we decided to hide from everything, because instead of confronting your problems, just hide from it. It will obviously solve the problem. About 56 million years ago, we were like, yo, where's the food? Where's the food? And we found these things called insects. So then we ate them. But then we realized this is not the best food source. So then we turned to trees, these things called trees, right? These trees have fruits on them. And we're like, oh shit, these probably are better. So then we evolved the ability to climb onto these trees. So then we can eat these fruits and stuff. And then more climate change happened. And now the trees are further apart, so they're harder to reach. About 4.4 million years ago, we decided to, instead of clinging on this one tree, we decided to go on land, walk, and go like, yo, I want more food from that one other tree. So then we developed walking with 2 legs, walking and keep walking to this one tree with even more fruits. Between then and 2.5 million years ago, not much has been recorded, but by 2.3 million years ago, we got even larger brains, right? Even more wrinkles on the brains. And then we were able to make tools from rocks. So then we got the ability to like kill people. Yeah, just kill people. Yeah. And also, after all the meat from an animal is consumed, it leaves with this thing called a skeleton. I say it as if you didn't know that already. So then they were like, why not just crack these bones open? And what they found was bone marrow. It was filling. So that's what they did. They just scavenged for skeletons and took the bone marrow from the inside. Using these tools made us develop these opposable thumbs to be able to grip the tool easier. So like, this is your hand, right? This is an opposable thumb. You can oppose all the other fingers. You can just like, it's like grabbing tools. If I didn't have opposable thumbs, it would be way harder to grasp. It would look something like this, but with opposable thumbs, it turns to something like this, to grab the tool easier and then kill people. Yeah, violence. I heard from someone that violence is never the answer. Violence is the question, but the answer is yes. Again, a lot was lost between then and 1.8 million years ago, but we went from scavengers to hunter-gatherers, and Homo erectus was first introduced. What makes it different from the last species is that we have sweat. We developed a thing called throwing, right? We have spears, and then we were able to throw because this is your body, right? The longer legs and shorter torso made it so that this can turn easier, and then if this was this cow thing, if there's a spear implanted into here, then it dies, or maybe it bleeds out or like gets slowed down or something. But that's how they got food. Wow, evolution. Later, lightning strikes. It burns all of the trees and stuff. It burns almost everything. It burns all of the fruits, all of what you would usually eat, and then they smell something that they could never describe before. This thing is called cooked meat, and it's way more nutritious, and it's easier to chew, thereby lowering the need for strong jaw muscles. And we still developed a way to control the fire, so that we get the fire from here and then we cook our own meat. But before that, they yelled at the sky and was like, go fuck yourself, because it just burned literally everything, all the little fruits and stuff. And that is pretty much where the first supernatural belief came from, that there was a supernatural being or multiple supernatural beings that controlled this thing called lightning, this thing called fire, that we've learned to control, that made these things. I guess that gives a purpose for all the living things. Instead of just reproduce and survive, it's you have this thing, so we worship it somehow. About 1.8 million years ago, Homo sapiens came to be. The thing that separates this Homo sapiens from Homo erectus and the species before that is communications. They can now work in groups, help people either with or without their own benefit. Without their own benefit is called altruism. With their own benefit is just selfish, I guess. About 200,000 years ago, now we're in the 100,000s, Homo sapiens from Africa spread out to Europe, Asia, and the Americas. Not many great apes have actually went out away from where they're familiar with, and there's a really high chance of failure. What if there's nothing there? What if this thing doesn't exist? Well, I guess that's what sets us apart from a lot of other species. We aren't afraid of change. We aren't afraid of going somewhere, maybe getting lost, but we take the risk because that pays off. About 2,000 years ago, there was the scientific revolution where they discovered organisms that we couldn't observe with our five senses, with five senses being sight, hearing, touch, taste, and smell. So we've discovered bacteria, other organisms, and a lot of other things. That looks like a peanut or like a cashew. That's not a bacteria. And now, about 50 years ago, the Industrial Revolution, it automated a lot of stuff. Now there's factories and slave children in China. And now technology, it's evolving way faster than any genetic evolution can evolve, I guess. It's less about genetic mutations and genetic evolution and more about advances in technology. But that leaves to you. You have a lot of things in common with your ancestors, a lot of things that are different from your ancestors, but we all came from that first ancestor. They used to have their own problems. Now you have your own problems. Maybe it's homework, maybe it's depression, maybe it's just work in general or life living in general, but your problems do matter. Don't think because no one's paying attention to it, it means that it's not important. It is important. You are the only person that is able to experience how problematic this problem is. And also vestigial traits, it's the thing that was left behind by your ancestors. For example, this tendon here that some people don't have, this is a vestigial trait. And the coccyx, the tailbone, that's also one. People used to think the appendix was also one, but now it's not really considered one. And also on your ears, if you have a hole right here, that means you have another vestigial trait. It was from grills. I'll put pictures up for you. And even goosebumps, like I said a few minutes ago. But as always, that's all for today. I love you guys and bye.